Hi everyone, let's talk about Trois Dice, which I just did a full playthrough for, where you can play along. There will be a link to the playthrough in the description, and then that will have a link for the score sheet as well. So yeah, you can play along with us and see if you can beat our scores. I don't think it will be that hard. Yes, so I absolutely love roll and write games. There are a ton of them on the shelf that I'm looking at here, a ton covered on the channel as well, like Octodice and Welcome to and Quinto and stuff. I absolutely love Trois as well, which there are a couple of playthroughs for as well. So really, what I'm saying is, this game would have to do something spectacularly bad to not get kind of a glowing first impressions, really. I absolutely love Trois Dice. I think it's wonderful. Rather than being those kind of simpler, abstract roll and writes, which I do love, Quinto is one of the best roll and writes still after all this time. It's one of those kind of more, I don't know about thematic, but more involved ones, like, say, along the lines of Octodice, which I think might still be my favourite one. So in Trois Dice, we've got this lovely little mechanism of morning and evening rounds. This nice wheel that turns around, reminds you of when to get affected by the events, and also shifts the plazas as well. We have these plazas of the colours of dice that you would find in the main Trois game, and all of the dice here, the dice that you can choose, are transparent. So being on a certain coloured plaza, the die on the red plaza becomes a red die for this particular round. That is such a wonderful touch. And then adding in to that the event die, which is a kind of good, abstracting of the event cards from Trois, that eventually go on to destroy parts of your player sheet, but they do a lovely extra job as well of flipping these plazas, and all but one of each colour. One of each colour is the same on both sides, but all the others have got different colours on the other side. So as well as the plazas flipping over and the days turning and having the morning and afternoon sections next to different plazas, it's got a really nice way of just naturally shifting what's going to be available to you in the game, as well as the randomness of the numbers of the dice that are available, because it's not necessarily that higher numbers are better. If you're going to use them for resources, of course, higher numbers are better. But in all other cases, it's situational. And it's up to you at the start of the game whether it's just going to be 1 to 6. It's probably not. You can mix it up. There's plenty of rules for how you can change how the numbers come out in there. But once we are into the game, so we've got event cards that are going to mess things up. They're going to completely destroy. Like, if this event card would have been a yellow 3, it's going to destroy your yellow 3 section. Anything you haven't built in there is going to get scribbled out. But you can build fortresses, these red buildings, that will protect your columns entirely. They're not really going to do much else for you. So there's a push your luck element into this as to how worried do you want to be. Because it might be that the event die happens to keep rolling similar numbers and ending up on similar colours. That can happen, and so they weren't such a big factor. Or they can happen in places where you have built the buildings that you care about, or happen in places where you couldn't really care less about them anyway. So it's about how cautious do you want to be. You can absolutely be overcautious, as I tend to do. I just like building those fortresses. I like building the little fortress roofs on all of the columns to protect them. But the other ones, the yellow prestige buildings are all about, based on how many dice are out here, how much can I get? And it does feel like a certain type of card in main Trois that was concerned with how many dice were in your particular section, or how many of that colour dice are available out on the board. And then the cathedral prestige buildings are, represent the character cards from Trois, the scoring cards that would give you points for how much money you had, or how much of the cathedral you had built. It's still kind of like that. They have been translated into this as well, but instead they score for each character represents one of the 6 rows of the game, and your first few are only going to give you, a point for each. But if you really go into those characters, your 3rd and 4th will give you 2 points for each building in that row, and then your 5th and 6th characters will give you 3 points for everything in that row. So there is another bit of push your luck there in a row that you have really, really got into. You definitely want it to score, but you kind of want to wait as long as you can to try and get 3 points for everything you put in there. You know, if you did all 6 buildings and you're getting 3 points for each, 18 points is a nice little chunk at the end of the game. But in waiting, are you risking that cathedral getting destroyed or something in that row getting destroyed, preventing you from building all 6 buildings? Or getting to the point where it's come to the close to the end of the game, you don't really have your manipulation abilities left, and you know, are you just not going to get the chance to build that cathedral anymore? There's plenty of dice manipulation as there was in normal Troyes. You know, there's influence to change the number on the dice, and there is knowledge. You can spend 2 knowledge to change the color of the dice, and as well, it's got the little event tiles as well that are considered an expansion there. You can play it without them, but I like that kind of extra little twist as well. It's not a huge thing to add into, but 3 of the plazas, the ones that never change colour, have a little benefit if you choose dice from there until an event comes and flips the plaza over. It flips the boon into a bane now. It's going to be for the rest of the game. It's going to be worse for you. You know, in the playthrough, the one that came up was the transparent die here is now another event die, so more and more events are going to happen, so you might be glad if you really went into fortresses. The other buildings are going to get you citizens. There are links between different buildings in there that can get you extra citizens. Getting a certain number of each resource can get you citizens as well, and citizens are points basically, but if you get loads of one colour, you will get to build, prestige buildings, and then if you get all the way to the end, you will get citizens of the other colours. But if you get certain columns, so all the colours of each citizen, I think it's 5, and then like 11 of them, then you can get rewarded with resources and more of these buildings. So it can be about seeing how you are going to go for it and getting these combos from them, because all the citizens work out as points in the end. It's just a really, really beautifully designed, really smooth moving roll and write game. And there's not quite so much overhead. I'd say maybe as much as something like Octodice to teach in advance. It's got these different sections that work differently, but in Troyes Dice, it's probably a bit smoother to learn because a lot of the rows work the same. Like the work buildings all just give you citizens of that colour. It's probably easier to explain. But as well, it's not quite as variable because Octodice, it's the kind of thing that it compares it to in my head a lot. I do like the tech tree in Octodice that is very, very variable, and it's got the events in Troyes Dice as well. But you only use 3 of them, and they are definitely a nice addition. I would always use them. But it's not as good as that tech tree, I don't think. But I do have a kind of affection and affinity for Octodice that doesn't seem to be shared that much. But I think back to Troyes Dice, it echoes Troyes very, very well. I would not say that because you like Troyes, you will like Troyes Dice. It's a very, very different game. While it's got all of these callbacks, and you can kind of see, oh yeah, that's that thing from the main game. Isn't this great? Is it like a prequel because we're building the buildings where our meeples go in main Troyes? Maybe you're not going to be bothered about that. But even if you do like those callbacks, maybe you're not really going to like the actual function, the actual mechanisms of a pure roll and write game, which is what this is. And if you're a fan of roll and writes, you might still be put off by the Troyes echoes and maybe the artwork. That's particularly for the people that I play with. Rage in particular really does not like the artwork of Troyes as much as I try and say that it fits in so well with the theme, and I think it really looks great. But yeah, it seems like it's quite a common roadblock for people with Troyes. But anyway, ignore anything that I said. I think it's wonderful, but watch the playthrough, play along if you can, and see if you would like it. That's what I really like about a lot of these roll and writes, that I can do these play-along playthroughs, and you not only can see how it's played, you can actually feel how it's played because you can play along with us. But that's it from me. Playthrough is there. Ignore what I said. See you for another game. Bye, everyone.